It was 11:23 on a Saturday morning when my mom texted me the venue address for the third time. The sun outside had already started baking the sidewalk, and the condensation on my kitchen glass had left a ring on the table I hadn't wiped in days. I was staring at that ring, motionless, while my phone buzzed again. It wasn't the time that stopped me. It was the weight of pretending everything was okay. Because deep down, I knew I wasn't skipping the wedding out of laziness. I was avoiding it out of something colder. Something that whispered, "Don't go. Not yet." My name's Daniel. I'm 33, work maintenance at the local hospital, and I guess you could say I used to be close with my brother Marcus. He's 36. We shared a room for 15 years, two bunk beds, and enough stupid fights over who got the last Pop-Tart to last a lifetime. But something shifted after college. Something I still can't name cleanly. And if you're asking why I didn't go to his wedding, this story is why. Because what I found out later made me realize how narrowly I'd missed something I wasn't ready to see. I think the first moment I really hesitated about the whole thing was 2 months earlier when I stopped by our mom's house to help her lift an old box of Marcus's things from the attic. She was making those honey-glazed ham sandwiches she always defaulted to when she didn't want to talk too much. She didn't say anything about the wedding at first, just hummed while pressing the bread with the back of a spatula. But I could feel it in the air, the quiet tension, like she wanted to ask why I hadn't RSVP'd yet, but didn't know how to word it without sounding like she was choosing sides. She set the plate down gently in front of me. "You saw the email, right?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, I saw it." She smoothed her hands over the apron, waiting. Then, softer, "He wants you there, Daniel." It wasn't a lie, exactly. Marcus had sent me the email. But it was 3 sentences long, stiff, and felt like something his fiancée had drafted for him. The RSVP link was broken. He hadn't followed up. I didn't answer right away, just picked at the crust of the sandwich and pretended to think. "You know," she said, trying to sound casual, "your brother's changed. He's not, well, not the same guy he was when you two had that falling out. People grow. Maybe this wedding's a fresh start." I smiled politely, said, "Yeah, maybe." But I was lying. Because the thing was, Marcus hadn't changed. He'd just gotten better at hiding the parts of himself that hurt people slowly. The fight we had 2 years ago wasn't about a girl. It wasn't about money either, though he liked to spin it that way when telling others. It was about trust. About him showing up at our dad's memorial with a rehearsed speech and a smirk like he'd won something. About how he turned our last shared grief into a networking opportunity. I couldn't forget the way he handed out business cards near the coffee table, like we were hosting a job fair. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to the week before the wedding. That was when everything started to sour in a way I couldn't ignore. I was working a double shift at the hospital. The AC in the pediatric wing had gone haywire again, and I was elbow deep in ductwork above the ceiling tiles when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I nearly ignored it, but something told me to check. It was a text from my cousin Jenna. "Jenna, hey, are you going to Marcus's thing?" I wiped sweat from my forehead, typed back, "Not sure yet. Why?" She sent a shrug emoji, then, "Just wondering. The vibe's weird. I'll call you later." But she didn't call that night, or the next, which was odd. Jenna and I weren't exactly best friends, but we talked enough that radio silence stood out, especially after a vague message like that. So I texted her again. "Everything okay?" No answer. Then, 3 days before the wedding, she posted a photo on Instagram. It was of her dress, one she planned to wear for the ceremony. The caption was simple, "Can't wait to see the look on his face." No name, no tag, just that. But the comments were flooded with our extended relatives saying things like, "You go, girl," and "Finally!" Something felt off. That night, I called her. She picked up on the fourth ring, sounding breathless and a little guilty. "Hey," she said. "Sorry, I was gonna call. It's just been hectic." "Is everything all right?" I asked. Pause. "Depends on your definition of all right." I waited. Then she whispered, "I probably shouldn't be the one to say this, but you really shouldn't go, Daniel. Not unless you're ready to see Marcus for who he really is." I sat down on the edge of my bathtub. "What does that mean?" She hesitated. "I can't tell you. Not yet. Just promise me you won't go. I know that sounds crazy, but you need to trust me." I wanted to press her, but something in her voice, the nervous shake, made me stop. So I said, "Okay, I won't." And I didn't. The morning of the wedding, I turned off my phone. I unplugged the landline. I poured myself a black coffee and sat on the back porch watching the neighbor's dog chase a squirrel across the yard. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel guilty. Just curious, like something was sliding into place that I couldn't name yet. 2 days later, I got a manila envelope in the mail. No return address, just my name written in blocky, careful handwriting. Inside was a single flash drive, a folded piece of paper, and a note. "You need to see this. I couldn't tell you before the wedding, but you have a right to know." It wasn't signed, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was Jenna's. I didn't plug in the flash drive right away. I just stared at it on the kitchen counter like it might detonate. The folded paper sat beside it, faint creases where someone had hesitated before sealing it shut. My gut twisted in a quiet, familiar way. The same feeling I used to get as a kid when Marcus would come home late and I'd hear our parents arguing through the air vent, like something bad had already happened. I just didn't know what kind of bad yet. I finally picked it up around midnight. The house was quiet. No cars passing outside, just the low hum of the fridge and the faint tick of the microwave clock. The flash drive clicked into the USB port with a little snap. I opened the only folder on it. Folder name, Proof. Inside were 7 video files and a subfolder labeled Screenshots. I hovered over the first video. The thumbnail was just a still of a dining room, dim lighting, exposed brick wall, a wine glass in midair like it had just been placed down. I hit play. The footage was shaky at first. Someone had clearly recorded this secretly, probably with a phone resting on a table. But the audio was clear. Marcus was sitting across from a woman I didn't recognize at first. Brunette, mid-30s, expensive necklace. Definitely not his fiancée. He was leaning in, elbows on the table. "I told her I'd stop," Marcus said, voice low. "But let's be honest, Rachel. You and I both know I'm not that guy." The woman smiled. "And you think she bought it?" Marcus laughed. This smug, slow sound I hadn't heard in years but still remembered like a scar. "Emily wants the fairy tale. I'll give her the wedding, the house, the photos. But the rest? She doesn't ask about it. That's the deal." The woman reached across the table, touched his hand. "You're cold." He shrugged. "I'm efficient." I paused the video. My heart was pounding in my ears. Not from shock exactly. Marcus had always had a way of compartmentalizing people. But this was different. This wasn't just infidelity. It was calculation. It was manipulation dressed as charisma. I opened the next file. This one was shorter. A hallway cam. Marcus again cornering someone against a vending machine in what looked like a hotel hallway. "Come on, Ius," he was saying. "It's one night. She doesn't have to know." The woman's voice. "You're getting married in 2 weeks, Marcus." He chuckled. "Yeah, and you're the one who RSVP'd early." I stopped there. I didn't want to keep watching. I felt sick. Not just at what he'd done, but at the reality that Jenna had been there. She'd recorded these. She'd seen all of this unfold. I opened the screenshots folder. There were dozens of text threads, all exported to image format. Some were between Marcus and the woman from the restaurant. Others were worse. Conversations between Marcus and another man where he joked about how he'd altered Emily's prenuptial documents without telling her. One message read, "She thinks the clause gives her 40% if I cheat, but I slipped in a revision. Her lawyer never caught it. If she walks with $0." The timestamp was from 2 months ago. That's when I knew this wasn't just a personal betrayal. It was systemic. He'd planned this like a game of chess. And I remembered something Mom had said months ago after one of their family brunches. "He's doing well, Daniel," she'd said softly over her second glass of wine. "Emily's grounding him. You'll see. This marriage is good for him." I hadn't believed her then, but I hadn't known why. Now I did. I sat there at my desk for a long time. The video's still open. The microwave clock blinking 1:30. Then I opened a blank Word document and started typing out a letter. Not to Emily, not yet, to Mom, because I didn't know if she knew. And if she did, I had questions that needed answers. The letter wasn't long, just, "Mom, I need to talk to you, in person. It's about Marcus, and it can't wait." She texted back the next morning early. "I'm free today. Come by around 11. Her house hadn't changed. Same smell of lavender and old photo albums. Same side table with the candle that never seemed to burn down. But when she opened the door and saw my face, she froze for just a second. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I need you to be honest with me," I said. We sat at the kitchen table. I didn't show her the videos yet, just started with a question. "Did you know about the prenup?" She blinked. "What?" "Marcus altered it, behind her back. He joked about it in texts. There's proof." Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. "I need to know," I said. "Did you know?" She looked down at her hands, then whispered, "Not exactly." My chest tightened. What does that mean? I didn't read the document, but he told me he said he'd taken care of things, that he made sure Emily wouldn't get anything if she ever left. I told him that wasn't fair. He said it was just a precaution. I stared at her. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because," she said, and her voice broke, "I thought he was bluffing. I didn't think he'd actually change the paperwork. I thought he just wanted to sound in control." I nodded slowly. Then I took out the flash drive, placed it on the table. "Watch this, then decide what to do." I didn't stay. I left her there, at the table, holding something she hadn't expected to ever see. Back home, I sat in my car with the engine off, key still in the ignition, fingers tapping the steering wheel. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel vindicated, just empty, and a little scared of what would happen next. 2 days passed, then 3, then a full week. No word from Mom, no word from Marcus. Then I got a knock at my door. It wasn't Marcus. It was Emily. She was standing there in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept in days. "I found the drive," she said, holding up the manila envelope. My blood turned to ice. "I didn't send it," I said quickly. "It was Jenna." "I know," she said. "She told me." We stood there in silence. Then she asked, "Can I come in?" Emily stood in the doorway like she wasn't sure she'd come to the right place after all. She looked smaller than I remembered from the holiday photos Marcus had posted, like something had been drained from her shoulders. Her voice was steady, though, sharper than I'd expected. "I found the drive," she repeated, holding it between her fingers like it had burned her. "I watched it all, twice." I stepped aside. "Come in." She sat down at the kitchen table without waiting for me to offer. She set the envelope down and looked around like she was trying to anchor herself to something plain. My fridge hummed in the silence. I stayed standing. She rubbed her temples, then looked up. "I want to know something, Daniel.
Yeah? Why didn't you come to the wedding? I blinked. I didn't know all this before. Not in detail. I just felt something was off. Jenna warned me not to go. Jenna, she said, like the name had become both a shield and a bruise. She told me she was scared to come forward. She recorded all that to protect you, I said, or at least give you a choice. Emily leaned back in the chair. The worst part is, I thought I was marrying a man who was rebuilding himself. He used to talk about you. Said he regretted what happened after your dad died. Said he'd grown since. I pulled out a chair across from her. He hasn't. He's just gotten better at hiding it. She reached into her bag and pulled out the prenup. It was printed, annotated, marked with yellow highlights and red pen. She slid it across the table. Did you know he changed the clause after I signed it? I nodded slowly. That's what the texts say. I gave up my job for him, she said, eyes glossy but not blinking. Moved across the state. He told me I didn't need to worry about money, that this was a partnership. Emily, she held up a hand. I'm not looking for comfort, Daniel. I'm looking for leverage. That surprised me. I want to go after him legally, she continued. I need someone to corroborate the texts, the video. Jenna's afraid it'll blow back on her job. But you're not in this mess. You saw the proof. I want to fight back, and I can't do it alone. I hesitated. You want me to testify? If it comes to that. But more importantly, I need someone to help me untangle the financial stuff. You're the only one in his family who doesn't make excuses for him. I let the silence stretch, then said, Okay. She finally breathed. That night, I dug out my old filing box, the one I kept receipts and W-2s in, and added a new folder. Marcus. Legal. I never imagined I'd need one. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I met up 3 times. Each time, she brought more documents, copies of her emails, bank statements Marcus had told her not to worry about, even a screenshot of an app notification he'd once dismissed in front of her that turned out to be a secondary savings account. It painted a picture, a very clear, very intentional one. The man she married was hiding assets, lying in writing, possibly committing fraud. And Jenna? She finally came forward too. We met her at a cafe on Chestnut Street, far enough from the family gossip circuit. She wore sunglasses and ordered a chamomile tea with both hands shaking. I didn't mean for this to blow up, she said. I just couldn't stand watching him lie to her face. Emily nodded. You did the right thing. I'm going to lose access to half the family over this. You won't lose us, I said. The rest, maybe they weren't worth keeping. Jenna looked at me then, tears caught behind her eyes. You always saw through him, didn't you? I nodded, even when I didn't want to. The legal process started slow. Emily's lawyer filed a preliminary motion to freeze joint assets while they investigated the prenuptial revision. That alone triggered a volcanic response from Marcus. He called me 2 days later. Blocked number. I answered anyway. You smug little bastard, he said. You think this makes you the hero? I think it makes me clean, I said quietly. Something you stopped being a long time ago. You're siding with her? I'm siding with the truth. He laughed, but there was no joy in it, just panic dressed up like arrogance. I'll bury this, he said. You have no idea who you're messing with. I think I do, I said. That's why I didn't come to your wedding. There was a pause, then a click. He never called again. Emily's case gathered steam. By the second court hearing, she had a full report of discrepancies, a forensic accountant's statement, and sworn testimony from Jenna. I offered my part quietly. No grand gestures, just an affidavit about what I'd seen, what I'd heard, what I'd always suspected, but never had the guts to say out loud. And it made a difference. The judge ordered a full audit of Marcus's finances.
froze 3 of his side accounts, ordered a revision of the prenup clause under suspicion of fraud. Emily told me she didn't want revenge. She just wanted freedom. I believed her. A month later, Mom called me. Her voice was tight, worn. "I saw the court documents," she said. "Marcus came by, screamed in the driveway for an hour." "Did he hurt anything?" "No, just pride, mine too." We sat in silence for a while. Then she said, "Thank you for not going to the wedding." "Why?" "Because if you had," she said, "you'd be tangled in this with guilt. And maybe you wouldn't have been strong enough to help her." I didn't know what to say to that, but I understood. The truth is, skipping that wedding wasn't just about instinct. It was about preservation. Something in me knew, deep down, that watching Marcus put on that tux, fake his vows, smile for the camera, it would have broken something permanent inside me. Instead, I got to help someone else rebuild, one document at a time, one choice at a time, and slowly, one piece of myself at a time. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.